Okay, hi, I'm Melissa. I put up a video last week talking about how I was going to put up a video this week talking a little bit about what I've been dealing with when it comes to my breast cancer, and a little bit of what I was dealing with before that, and a little bit about how I got over some of those struggles. I mean, I feel like I'm a person who's pretty brave. I feel like I've really went up against a lot of things in my life that I didn't probably should have never went up against, but I did. And I've continued to live my life like that. And that's how I try to raise my son to be. I don't want him to fear anything. And I feel like I've put ridiculous enough things on my bucket list, such as skydiving, and just doing it randomly. So I really didn't, or I feel like I didn't put in much thought when it comes to decisions like that. I feel like I had a pretty good handle of things until I moved back home, closer to home in Georgia. A lot of my family is in Birmingham, Alabama. And I moved back there because I felt like it was the right thing to do. That's what most people do when you're around my age and you have kids, and you don't really question things, you just do it. So that was part of the plan anyway. And a couple of things happened that, just took me in that direction a lot sooner than I thought. And, looking back on everything, I feel like, I should have asked myself, what do you want? What would make you happy in this moment? What would change your perspective of things? Just anything that has to do with me. That's what I should ask myself. I shouldn't have asked myself, what would make me happy, because that's gonna make my son happy. We would have a happy life like that. That's what most people do. You think about yourself in situations, and I didn't do that, and I don't blame anyone but myself. And I feel like every single thing that happens for a reason, and sometimes it's not going to make sense to you or even the people around you, but you don't have any control over that. You have control over how you choose to look at it, how you choose to handle it, how you choose to move forward, what you choose to ignore, what's good for you, what's not good for you. And I feel like a lot of stuff in life, not even just major diseases, I feel like a lot of stuff happens in our head first. We can cause a lot of things to happen because we're just thinking those things over and over, and it becomes a way of life for us, and it makes sense when it does happen, even though that's not something you necessarily want to happen. I think the fear around it is much greater than the challenge of going against it or doing something different or anything like that. And I feel like I've always been a person who read a lot. I like to write. I've always wrote since I was younger. And I don't feel like I look at things from a harsh standpoint. I think I look at things from maybe too positive standpoint, as in, believing that people just believing that there's some good in a situation, no matter what the situation is, seeing some good in it. And that's not always the case. And but that's not something that's strange or abnormal. It just is. And I think in diving into a lot of these situations that I dive into, I really did not think it through. I didn't think it through because I just didn't put a label on people or any of that. I'm not a type of person who asks for help or anything like that. I've just always tackled things myself. And even when I first was diagnosed, I still wanted to help. I still was trying to help because I'm like, that's not going to stop my life. That's just, that's just something that happens. I really didn't put too much thought into it, no label on it. And now, of course, I know that it is something that needs a label, because it's something that you're going to really see how strong you are mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. I mean, everything. And I put myself through the difficult things because I like challenges. So don't get me wrong, I feel like you always gonna have a lesson or a blessing in that challenge. And that blessing is sometimes a lesson as well. And so it just depends on what the challenge is. I feel like when you get a diagnosis, I just wasn't left any room to think about what that meant for me. I just was only left room with, what does this mean moving forward? What do I need to do now? Things like that. You don't really think about those things. You just don't think about. And so I feel like God wanted to sit me still because he wanted to really show me some things. He wanted to show me some real things because of the things that I prayed for. These are things that I have to learn. These are things I feel like my soul desired, in a sense. I feel like, I didn't put too many labels on it. I really didn't. And going into it, I just assumed. And I remember after I got my diagnosis, I was running, and the mass had got to the point to where I had to hold it because it was getting heavy, fast. Like, I've never seen anything like it. And honest to God truth, I feel like this came on maybe almost 5 years ago. And everybody I went to about it just like didn't lead me in that direction at all. So I didn't even think nothing of it. So I feel like, you could trigger certain things in your life to happen depending on your perspective, how you view things, like how you move forward, just anything of that nature. I feel like you can move yourself forward. And I feel like this is a situation where I felt like it was just another situation I did lose a lot in it. I was I was just like, I feel like this is the first thing I really put emotion into out of everything I've been through in my life. I think part of the reason I was able to put emotion into it is because I was forced to sit there and see everything the way it really is, not with my positive perspective bubble wrap around it. And I saw some things I just wasn't ready to see. And it changed some things in my life. It really did. It made me look at things completely differently. And I'm thankful that I got a chance to look at things differently. I'm very grateful that I get an opportunity to do these things I set out to do. And I put time on it. I don't feel like I put it on in the sense of like, oh, by this age I want to, I feel like I just put a lot of time, not as much time on really big things. And I just always needed to feel that. I got into a place where I just always needed to feel that courage to go through and finish things no matter what it is, And I feel like with this, it ended up being something I was not ready to see. I remember my last prayer to God, and you hear these things growing up, but you don't really put too much thought into it because it's like, you feel like it's a long way from where you are right now. And so I heard like rumors and stuff of people, they would say things like, be careful what you pray for, and just little sayings like that you really just, okay, you don't really put too much thought into it. But now I put a lot of thought into that because like, I know what I prayed for last. And this was like like definitely like one of those things that happens in movies or shows where you're just like, what's going to happen next? Because this changes everything. So that was my perspective. I felt like it changed a lot of things in my life, not necessarily in a bad way. It changed things in a good perspective, in a good way, in a sense that if I know these are things I had to eventually see or deal with, I'm happy it happened the way it did, because I don't know how I would have handled it if it would have happened any other way than the way it happened. And I don't know, I never felt more stronger. I never felt things make more sense. I think what you would consider to be transformations, I felt like I went through a couple. And things were so simple. So simple. When you eliminated the weight it carried, you know, before my diagnosis, you know, I had things in my head that I have to do, like anybody who really, you know, I don't know, you don't put that much thought into how much thought you put into certain things. But when everything happened with my diagnosis, I felt like I had to put thought into those things, because what didn't matter at the time started to hold a lot of ground in my life, and I just didn't really know how to navigate that smoothly. I never had anybody in my life who navigated things the way I wanted to. And they probably did. I just didn't see them navigate it that way. So they just didn't come to mind when I had a picture of what I wanted the end outcome to be. That's all I could focus on, you know, because I couldn't focus on anything else, any of my goals, which I was the most disappointed about, if I'm being honest. I don't know if you consider it to be a problem or not. I don't, because everything in my life is a goal, and that's how it gets done. And I don't know, I just saw things differently in a way to where it just didn't hold as much value. It didn't hold as much value to me anymore. I saw moments past that moment I was in, and I believe what I saw from the person who's been so consistent in my life, been there for me no matter what, no matter who, no matter what's happened, unbelievable things that, you know, shouldn't happen to anyone. But I feel like we all have a story, so, you know, I'm not going to give that any extra weight. I feel like, you know, at that time, I was in that situation because of previous situations that happened when that kind of was the case, but it didn't have to be the case. It's something I allowed to carry way more weight than I should have. And I feel like that's on me. And I feel like, you know, I didn't feel like I did. I think that was the main problem or the main issue with it. I didn't feel like I gave it as much weight as I guess I was. And so it really wasn't a big deal for me. It just wasn't something that carried a lot of weight in my life. However, something that never was a big deal to me became the biggest deal. I felt like, you know, even though I encountered a lot of situations to where I could have possibly died, I never encountered a situation like this. I never really gave it much thought. I didn't put much energy into it. When I was younger, I had a dream that I died. That's a completely different story, but that's as much thought as I put into it. And who puts any thought into it, you know? I had nothing but time to give it thought. And I saw everything that God was trying to tell me. I was trying not to see it. You come up with like layers of like situations to, you know, take it out of the equation. You don't want to see things a certain way, and I was in that place. I didn't feel like I was ready. But the funny thing about that is I was always ready. I just didn't see it. That just wasn't my perspective, because that's not what I was trained to do. with myself. And I'm gonna prove all of this to be true. I feel like I reached 15 minutes. No, but I feel a lot of things way before they happen. And everything I labeled as something such as fear actually was the opposite. And that's why I just never really felt challenged. And I don't know. I'm excited to like get to know you guys. I'm excited to have these conversations. I feel like it's something that's really brave. I feel like it's something that needs to be done. I didn't think about like what I would want to still be here if I was no longer here. And that's what I've always been leaning towards, and I'm just leaning towards it more with more excitement and more ideas and more experiences. So I'm really excited as we take this journey. I'm going to try to do this every day. I'm going to try to do it every day. I'm putting it on my schedule to do it every day. I want to just continue to do things very uncomfortable. You know, I feel like, when did we make comfort a goal? You know, I just, that's where I'm at. And I would just tell you how I got there and what helped me to see things that way. But until then, I will talk to you later.